My name is Gloria. I'm 79 years old. And I got married for the first time when I was 70. Not remarried. Married. First time. Never been down that aisle before in my life. I know what you're thinking. Believe me, I heard it all. From my daughter. From my friends. From the woman at my church who pulled me aside one Sunday and said, very quietly, like she was saving me from something, "Gloria, at our age?" I looked at her and I said, "Especially at our age." Let me back up. I spent most of my adult life alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference, and it took me a long time to learn it. I raised my daughter Patricia by myself after her father left when she was 3. I worked. I built a life. A good one. Small house, steady job, good friends, a garden out back that I was genuinely proud of. I didn't sit around waiting for a man to complete me. I completed myself. I was fine. That's what I told everybody. And it was mostly true. But there was a part of me, a quiet part, not dramatic about it, that had just accepted that certain things weren't going to happen for me. A partner. Someone to have coffee with in the morning. Someone who knew where I kept things. Who noticed when I got a haircut. Who'd call just to say nothing much. I'd filed that away under "not for me" somewhere around age 50, and more or less stopped thinking about it. Then I met Raymond. It was at a community garden of all places. I was there every Saturday, had been for years. He showed up one spring morning with absolutely no idea what he was doing. He'd just moved to the area after retiring. His daughter had signed him up for a plot thinking it would be good for him, and he was standing there holding a trowel like it was something he'd found on the moon. I almost walked past him. Almost. But he had this look on his face, not helpless, not embarrassed, just genuinely curious. Like a man who didn't know something and was perfectly comfortable with that fact and fully intended to figure it out. I don't know why, but that got me. I stopped. I said, "You planning to dig with that or just hold it?" He laughed, not a polite laugh, a real one. We talked for 2 hours that morning, about gardening, then about our kids, then about nothing in particular. He was easy to talk to in a way that I hadn't felt in a long time. Not trying to impress me. Not performing. Just talking. I went home and didn't think too much of it. Told myself it was a nice conversation. That was all. He was there the next Saturday, and the one after that. By summer, we were getting coffee after the garden. By fall, we were having dinner, and somewhere in there, I couldn't tell you exactly when, it stopped being two neighbors being friendly and became something else. Something I hadn't felt since I was young enough that I'd forgotten what it felt like. I was terrified. I want to be honest with you about that, because I think people expect that when you're older, you're past being scared of things like this. You're not. If anything, it's worse, because you know more. You know how much it can hurt. You know how fast things can change. You know, and this is the part nobody talks about, you know how little time there might be. That doesn't make you braver. It makes every step feel heavier. I pulled back. I started being busy when he called. I told myself I was being sensible, that at 70 years old, upending a life that worked, risking your heart, letting someone in that close, it was foolish, impractical. What was the point? Patricia could see what I was doing. She sat me down one evening and said, "Mum, what are you afraid of?" I said, "Making a mistake." She said, "You've been careful your whole life. Has careful made you happy?" I didn't have a good answer for that. If this is landing with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I'd love to know. Raymond wasn't dramatic about it either. He didn't push. He just stayed. kept showing up, kept being exactly who he was. One evening in October, we were sitting on my porch and he said, very simply, quote 7. That was it. That was the whole speech. I cried. Not sad crying. The kind that comes when something you gave up on suddenly shows up at your door and turns out to be real. We got married the following spring. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Patricia walked me down the aisle. She cried the entire time, which made me laugh, which made me cry, which made the whole thing kind of a mess and absolutely perfect. I wore pale blue. Raymond wore a suit that was slightly too big for him and didn't care one bit. Now, I want to tell you what I've learned, because that's why I'm here. People will have opinions about your life. They will think they are being kind when they manage your expectations. They will say things like, quote 8 and quote 9 and quote 10. And sometimes they're right to say those things. But sometimes, and this is what I want you to really hear, sometimes those words aren't wisdom, they're fear. They're fear, dressed up as advice to you. Only you know what you've given up on. Only you know which drawer you put that thing in, that hope, that wish, that version of your life you decided wasn't available to you anymore. I'm not telling you everything works out. It doesn't. I know that. I've buried people I loved. I've had years that were genuinely hard. Life doesn't owe you a happy ending. But I am telling you this. Don't file things away too early. Don't decide the chapter is finished before you've turned the last page. I got 9 years with Raymond before he passed. 9 years. Some people hearing that will think, only 9 years? What a short time. I think 9 years of mornings with coffee, and someone who knew where I kept things and noticed when I got a haircut. 9 years of not being alone in the particular way that you're alone when there's no one. 9 years of the garden and dinners and his slightly too big suit hanging in the closet and being known by someone. I would do it again in an instant. I would take 9 years over nothing every single time. What I want to say to you, and I mean this for whoever needs to hear it, whatever age you are, is that it is not too late until it is actually too late. And you don't know when that is. None of us do. The woman at my church who pulled me aside that Sunday, she never remarried. She told me once, near the end of her life, that she'd been too afraid of looking foolish. Don't be too afraid of looking foolish. Foolish is alive. Foolish is trying. Foolish is standing at 70 years old in a pale blue dress, holding flowers, crying and laughing at the same time, making a mess of the whole thing. It was the best day of my life, and I almost didn't let it happen. Please subscribe to this channel if these stories mean something to you, and leave a comment. Tell me where you're from, or tell me something you stopped hoping for. I read everything, every single one. Raymond has been gone for 2 years now. I still go to the garden every Saturday. I have his plot now, too. I tend both of them. It makes me feel close to him. Sometimes I talk to him out there, tell him about Patricia, about the grandkids, about whatever is growing. Last spring, I helped a man who showed up with absolutely no idea what he was doing, holding a trowel like he'd found it on the moon. I stopped. I said, "You planning to dig with that, or just hold it?" He laughed. A real one. I went home and didn't think too much of it, but I didn't walk past him either.